Do you know where your water comes from? Do you know where it goes? Most of us assume there's an abundant supply of good, clean water. That's not necessarily so. The Pomperaug River Watershed Coalition is a group of all interested stakeholders in this watershed. The question is, what is a stakeholder? Well, it's somebody who has an interest in what's going on and who may or may not have some expert contribution to make to solving the problems that we face. Some people think that we are a so-called green or ecologically oriented organization, and we are. But we also have stakeholders, which include the 3 water companies and industry. This is a coalition that tries to be as inclusive as possible. And currently, we're working on trying to increase the degree of inclusion of the public. And the idea there is to help people understand how they can become a part of keeping this river and this aquifer in good shape.
We tend to divide all land up into what we call watersheds.
A watershed is a geographic area surrounding a body of water.
If you think of it just in terms of the Pomperaug River, you have the Pomperaug River main stem that comes up and a number of tributaries that shoot out of it.
A watershed can be thought of as a kind of a geographic area. You know, something like a bathtub is the best way to describe it.
The rim of the bathtub would be the ridge line surrounding the lake or stream. Any rainfall that falls within those boundaries is ultimately going to discharge into the river. First of all, any activities within the watershed will have an impact on the river or the stream. So we are very fortunate to have a small, manageable sized watershed. Our watershed falls primarily in the towns of Bethlehem, Woodbury, and Southbury.
My name is Dick Crane. I'm the first selectman of the town of Woodbury. I want to go back and say that I think it was a couple of years ago that the Tawannock power plant down in Oxford was being proposed. At that time, Dr. Mark Taylor and Larry Pond and Dick Leavenworth approached me and asked for my assistance, and we all got together and made some appointments, and out of it came the coalition. From the intervention we were able to get out of the USGS funding to restore the gauges that we have on the Wikipimi and Nonawag rivers, and also start collecting data off of the Pomperaug. It's imperative that we have constant data, which we're now getting from the stream gauges that we have, and keep track of what flows we do have. And then from that, we're able to get out information to the public through the quarterly reports that they issue, and also from the State of the Watershed report. But until the coalition came along, we really didn't have any quantifiable data where we can say we've got a problem here, we've got a problem there, and start identifying it.
You see, this small area here is not sufficient for the cattle to graze. Most of our pastures are way out there. So they have to go over this wetland and stream area to get to the pastures. That's the problem. Here, obviously, you can see that cows do use this area. In order to take the first step in remedying this problem, several years ago we approached the DEP for a river restoration grant. And lo and behold, we were granted the money, and so now we're able to take many further steps. And we're in the process of trying to figure out how, with exclusionary fencing and some vegetative buffer, to protect all of the water in this area from the action of the beef herd, while still allowing our cows to get out to their pasture to eat, which they are very eager to do every day. The two basic aspects of the problem, obviously, of having the cows go through the wetlands and the streams is that it does contribute organic matter to the water, but in particular it tramples the banks, destroys the vegetation, and contributes to sedimentation, which has effects way beyond this area. And that's kind of the beauty for us of this river restoration project, is we know that whatever we do here is going to have an effect all the way downstream, all the way to the ocean ultimately, and that means a lot to us. The Pomperaug River Watershed Coalition actually came to our attention when we received this grant from the state, because they became very interested in what we were doing and the fact that we had already taken some proactive measures to help our water situation here. And they actually invited me to be a member of their board. I'm quite a new member, so I feel very free to praise the coalition without taking credit for any of the wonderful things that they're doing. They're an incredible volunteer body.
I'm a fisheries biologist. I work for the Department of Environmental Protection, Bureau of Natural Resources, Fisheries Division. I've been very impressed with the Pomperaug River Watershed Coalition. I also serve with the Rivers Alliance of Connecticut. I'm on their board of directors. I've worked very closely with the Farmington River Watershed Association, the Connecticut River Watershed Council, the Housatonic Valley Association, Quinnipiac River Watershed Association, and a variety of others. The Pomperaug River Watershed Coalition is a new group recently formed, and in that very short time has been exceedingly dynamic, has done a great deal to get a foundation going, doing stream walks, beginning to develop an adaptive stream program, and setting the foundation for some in-stream flow assessments and strategies that they can use to really improve the health of the Pomperaug and ensure its health.
Also to look at it in a
this segment, this little tributary to the Nanawag River.
Stream walk, where we walk up the stream and we make an assessment of the condition of the stream based on criteria that we've been given and training that my husband has been given. And we get to spend the morning on the river, which is a real pleasure.
I think the primary role of the coalition is to collect and analyze the data that we need to make sound management decisions about the watershed and the future use of our water resources. You can see the days of the month along the bottom and the flow in cubic feet per second, and also the median flow at that gauge over 63 years.
Pomperaug River Watershed Coalition, they got in touch with Cornell in January to have us help them develop a watershed management plan. I started working with them in January, more on the science side of things, and so I've been looking at what lives in the stream. So I've been collecting fish and bugs from the stream to see, based on what's living in the stream, how healthy are the streams themselves. The health of the watershed in almost all of the sites I've been working in is excellent.
One of the main goals of the coalition is to develop what we call a watershed water management plan. That is to make sure we're using our water resources here in a way that won't exhaust them or pollute them in the future. One of the things about the Pomperaug watershed is it has a very unique history in geology. There are at least three times when lava, liquid rock, flowed into this whole valley and then hardened into a rock that we call basalt, but is commonly known as trap rock. You know, in between the lava flows, we had times when sedimentary rock, sediments were formed, they got into sedimentary rock. Then, about 1 million years ago, we had maybe 2,000–3,000 feet of ice right above us. Okay, this was the ice ages coming down, and when that ice began to melt in that rift valley, it deposited large quantities of gravel and sands. What happens is those gravels and sands have made what we call the Pomperaug aquifer, underground environment that lets groundwater move through it very quickly. What we've ended up here with in the Pomperaug watershed, and particularly the Pomperaug aquifer, is, you know, a very wonderful source of water. I mean, we are very, very fortunate. We have a really unique, good, plentiful system here.
Although the water quality remains very good, there are threats to our water supply. In the future, there may not be enough water. Polluted runoff from developed areas and from our own lawns is getting into the aquifer and the river. And unfortunately, dangerous chemicals such as MTBE are seeping into our groundwater. My hope for the future is a watershed in which we understand that water is a limited resource and that everybody, the public, the specific stakeholders in our organization, work together to make sure there's enough high-quality water for everybody, and that we do it while we preserve this beautiful river and environment.